Alright, well, we are, I guess I shouldn't say we're back. We are here, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, hello. I'm Beatbeard. I'm here with my good pal, Klaesick. How you doing, my dude?
I'm wearing blue. Da boo dee da boo da.
Oh my god. Is that like a thing? Is that...
Only on the pants though. The shirt is white, so.
I'm wearing blue jeans as well. I assume you're wearing blue jeans today.
I'm in pajamas currently since it's kind of around like, I think 9 p.m. at night, so.
Good for you, good for you. Well, this is, well, what we're playing right here is specifically the old Beam Factory, but this is a new thing for the channel, which, as of this recording, I think we'll only have a few videos up, but yeah, Klaesick and I were talking, and we were, thinking about Let's Plays we both wanted to do, and we thought a little co-op thing would be a whole lot of fun. So this is Vibes Playing Overflow, and I'm sure you get the pun if you don't just peruse the Doom Wiki until you do, I guess. And yeah, we just try to have a chill good time and be kind of a counterpoint to the sweaty, try-hard, Occupuck playthroughs and kind of mentality, and just be a nice little chill.
We both love you, Mount Pain and Sandwich. We both love you, but
we really do.
Your stuff tends to be very kind of
sweaty.
Mount Pain is trying to prove himself desperately. Sandwich just kind of seems annoyed while we co-host speak over. So let's do something a little different.
Yeah, we figured that like something that's like we both really like is kind of like the chill, easy, exploratory, like Let's Play playthrough, so to speak. And we don't see that a lot of in Doom, unfortunately, which is a real shame because, like, to me, this is one of the most interesting and awesome games to just like lose yourself to and like go exploring in, if that makes sense, without, focusing explicitly on combat, even though the combat is obviously fire, and I love a good combat set piece, but the exploration and just the chill vibes and like getting lost in a 3D world or a 16-bit world is like what's really awesome to me about this game. So that's what we're trying to go for here.
I would say kind of on the limits of 16-bit, at least for me, because there's a huge difference between something like Super Mario World and Doom, obviously, but
yes,
all these styles are great, so.
Even though it's kind of interesting to make that comparison, because like I would say like something like this, which is I think we mentioned it, but it's the old Beam Factory. It's an MBF 21 set with lots of cool colors and a whole lot of line devs everywhere. This is probably more like computationally intense. There's probably more calculations happening per second on the screen here, but it's got a distinct kind of 2D art style as opposed to like Super Mario 64, which is like very distinctly 3D, and this is more like cozy to me, even though they're both like three-dimensional environments. I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
Oh yeah, that kind of does make sense. Like, early 3D graphics are very like polygonal and like kind of, I guess, somewhere in between simplistic than like the SNES era or the Sega era, but like not as simple as like the 8-bit era,
Yeah, I'm very much of the opinion of that, like the 16-bit processing for anything is like this sweet spot for 2D graphics. It's like just chunky enough to kind of like let you know that it's like 2D, so to speak, but it's not so chunky like an 8-bit game that it's kind of takes you out of the experience. Like, this is like cozy in the way that an old Super Nintendo game is, but it's exploratory in the way that like a good adventure game is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Like, I tend to prefer 16-bit graphics over other graphics, like, no offense to like early polygonal graphics, I know that's a big thing now, but like I really don't like that kind of PlayStation N64 aesthetic that much. Although for some reason, Super Mario 64 Mario just really sticks with me for whatever reason. That specific Mario I really like, but everything else is kind of eh.
I agree wholeheartedly. Well, I think part of that's because Nintendo has always put like a big emphasis on level design. Also, we're going to be safe skimming like crazy because, once again, we're not tryhards. We're just having fun with the game. But what was I before we went on my tri raid? I think part of that's just because Nintendo has always had a big emphasis on not just gameplay but also art design, and so they really like making games which kind of adapt to their limitations. So even though Super Mario 64 is, chunky, it kind of like leans into the chunky angle, and it's charming. Like, even I'm sure back in the 90s it was charming, and it still looks good, even if it is limited, in my opinion, of course.
I feel like Mario is the best part of that game because like Bowser kind of looks a little like everything else. Just kind of looks off to me, but Mario for some reason looks perfect. I don't know why.
Really?
Because I played a lot of GM64, which is a Gmod add-on, which people managed to reverse engineer the Super Mario 64 source code, and now they're putting Mario in other games.
Huh.
I think they did it for Doom as well, or like GZ Doom, but I have to find that again. But GM Doom is for Gmod, obviously.
Huh. Cool.
And I like the controls and it's literally just an adaptation of Mario 64. It's not like something new. It's literally the original code. So Mario controls a lot better in Super Mario 64 than like Odyssey, for example. I don't really like Odyssey that much.
Really? I don't have a Switch, so I've never played Odyssey before.
Odyssey is like good, but I don't think it's like as great as people say it is. Like, I kind of get like kind of bored at. I kind of got really bored with it after I finished, and like Power Moon collecting is the most fucking annoying chore I've ever done.
I've heard that from multiple
people. I really kind of hate collectathons and like big open worlds and stuff now.
I can dig it.
Even though some of my favorite games are open worlds, I don't like the open worldness of them. For example, like Breath of the Wild is one of my favorites of all time.
I've heard that's
but
really
I don't
good.
like Breath of the Wild is kind of different because like I don't really focus on like the collecting aspect. I just kind of like walking around the world and taking in the atmosphere because it has one of the best atmospheres ever, I think.
You are a man after my own heart, Klaesick. I have a very similar relationship with Skyrim. There's a whole level building RPG aspect to that. Oh, he didn't zap me. Nice. There's a whole level building RPG aspect to that game. I mean, that's kind of, in terms of the game itself, kind of the core gameplay. But for me, I just love booting it up and kind of like taking a virtual hike, so to speak. If that makes sense. Oh, god damn it. Archvales are skinny little bastards, which, by the way, I'm very much of Doom Kid's opinion in this, where Mount Pain is like, oh, Archviles are scary. And I'm like, no, they're not. They're skinny little dweebs that need to be shotgunned or plasmid into oblivion. Like, yeah, you gotta respect them, but they're not...
I feel like Archviles are scary mainly because of what they do, not so much as what they look like. Because they kind of look like the campy kind of Doom 2 style. Like, Doom enemies aren't really scary. They're more like menacing I
also gotta say,
cool, I'd say.
Look at that donut.
They're menacing and chunky, I'd say. Chunky not in the 16-bit sense, but kind of... Oh, yeah.
It's a little donut. I'm sorry, I just love that detail. Yeah. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd say they're chunky and like more of the B-movie kind of practical effects sense, not like the 16-bit sense, even though they are that.
Yeah, they're like...
I feel very much like a silly kind of campy B-movie that's like Evil Dead 2, for example. That it's full of blood and guts and stuff, but it doesn't really take itself that seriously.
It's like watching a movie like Rebels in the Forbidden Zone, or like some kind of like low budget like practical effects movie from that time, where you look at it and the effects don't look convincing, but you're like, oh, they really tried,
Yeah, like the Cacodemon is the epitome of this. I think that's why it became the mascot. And the Zombie Man as well. The Zombie Man and the Cacodemon are like the best examples of this kind of B-movie style Doom has.
Absolutely, and I think that's part of the appeal, is that like, also look at that crate. I love that crate. Also that's part of the appeal to me, is that like, I mean, yes, it is violent. Ooh, also 2022. I hadn't noticed that before. That's nice. To me, that's part of the appeal, is that like, it is violence, but it's kind of like cartoon violence in the B-movie sense you were saying, where it's like, you see these monsters and they're like, oh, they're cute little puppets,
And they're just like, I swallow your soul, I swallow your soul.
I'll swallow your soul. No, absolutely. We need to watch that at some point. That's a good movie.
Yeah. Like Evil Dead 2 especially. I feel like the zombie especially resembles the Deadites from like Evil Dead 2, where it's like, I wouldn't say they're like cute, but they're just like, oh yeah, this is like cool. They're just like, they have those big teeth and like those wide eyes.
Oh
like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like with B-movie things, they look kind of silly, but you wouldn't want to see something like that in like a dark alley, for example.
Oh sure.
That's kind of how I think about it.
I hear what you're saying. But it's kind of like whenever you watch Evil Dead 2, or for me especially, like Army of Darkness. And I guess, yeah, technically it is quote-unquote scary, but it's more just like, oh, that's so silly, it's a woman in a mask, or it's a puppet. But it's, you know...
No, that's so silly, a headless woman has a big chainsaw and she's chasing after the main character. Isn't that wacky?
Exactly, and it's just, the appeal is the personality and the creativity of the filmmakers, not the violence or the realism of the violence. Like, when you see, ooh, Pain Elemental, gotta take care of that guy. Yes, and I didn't get hit by a lost soul.
Pain Elementals are also a good example of that. Like, they look really stupid. Like, when you see this and their tiny little arms and stuff, just like, that doesn't look very threatening, but the reason people in Doom don't like it is because because of what it does, not what it looks like, you know?
Exactly, yes.
That's why people don't like Archviles, or like find them scary, not because Archviles kind of look scary, although they did try, you know, kind of make them look gangly and stuff, but
oh, sure.
they're scary because they can kill you in an instant and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like, most of the monsters to me are just kind of cute, truth be told. It's like, look at that Pinky. He's waddling over towards you, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. And I'm like, no, you whoa.
The Pinkies are very silly, yeah.
I know, I love them. They're so...
I like the baited Pinkies a bit more.
Really? What they... I've probably seen them, but I've forgotten it. What do they look like?
They look very, very similar, but like the eyes and the mouth are slightly different. So they look, instead of being, they kind of look a bit more like shut. They're not like totally closed. If I can like, I know Doom Kid used it, so if I can like look at one of his old thumbnails and stuff, it's like, oh yeah, that's the one.
Huh. I'll have to go back and check that out. There's a lot of like alpha and beta assets, which I think are really cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use the chain gun to deal with all these guys. Chain gun's really good for like corralling enemies like this.
I feel like I've become to love the chain gun more as time goes on. The super shotgun and shotgun is cool, but the chain gun is my fave.
I agree. Like, I mean, everything has its niche, and like, you shouldn't use like a chain gun.
The chain gun is the most reliable weapon, I think, in a pitch, because when I'm out of ammo of the shotguns, like technically I don't really have much. It's like, oh crap, I can't use super shotgun, but I can use this chain gun. It's a lot more effective.
Well, and it's, I mean, everything has a niche, and like for burst damage, you know, the super shotty is the best. If you want to do quick sniping damage, the shotgun is the best. But for sustained damage, ooh, I like the little hole up there. For sustained damage, ooh, I didn't even realize I could do that. It's so nice. For sustained damage, where you like can reliably stun lock like a lot of creatures, especially zombies, like the chain gun is really great. So like if you come up to say like a group of chain gunners and shotgunners, like the chain gun is like the best weapon even if you're out in the open for like just spraying and praying and stun locking them, because that resets their attack counter to 0, and you can take minimal damage that way. So the weapon balance in general, like for such an old game for the first FPS, the true one that is like really good.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm hijacking the conversation, I'm just having a good time.
Nah, you're good. I feel like I kind of agree there. I'd say first true FPS. I would still attribute it to Wolfenstein 3D in the end, even though Doom is up there, because I feel like it's more of like the blueprint of what Doom was, rather than like, that's why people call it the granddaddy rather than like the daddy being Doom, you know?
Yeah, it laid a foundation so Doom could build a house, so to speak. Hello, Mr. Zombie Man. Oh my gosh, there's a glory hole in this toilet. How risque. Wait, what the
That is not. People can see you pooping in Doom now. That's so. I don't know.
How very I don't know.
They're gonna if this was real life, they would get sued.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
I've heard that some schools put security cameras in bathrooms to make sure that their students weren't smoking weed or anything.
Oh my god.
And you can see why they started removing them.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I don't think that's good.
That's just straight pedophilia. You don't want to do that.
I hate pedophilia with every fiber of my being. So
I do too. Part of it's just because like it's like be attracted to a woman, don't be attracted to a child, and if you are, keep it to yourself. For God's sake, they can't make decisions for themselves.
Yeah. It's a mental illness in the end. Sorry to get so serious, but you know,
exactly.
Pedophilia it doesn't make a person inherently evil, but it is a mental illness, and you should see somebody if you feel that things instead of acting on those urges. Please, for the love of God, I beg you.
Yes, I have always felt the same way too. It's like, yeah, it's one of those things which just makes me kind of sick, truth be told.
Yeah. Everybody has their limits after all, so, and that's mine.
Yeah,
a very hard limit.
Absolutely. I think everyone has like, I think for a lot of people there's like a crime, not to say that any crime is okay, but like a crime where they're like, oh that's terrible, and a crime where they're like, it's not so bad. So for me it's like, I don't know, like, theft, like petty theft is kind of like, if you're hungry and you need like some food, you know, I can understand it, you know, you should still be reprimanded, but you probably shouldn't be shot by the police or anything. Ah, I didn't dodge, shit. Oh well.
Yeah. And then there's the one who's like, oh yeah, that's very, very bad. Never do that. And then that's kind of like, you know...
I'm hearing a horn.
I will say child grooming, for me, you know, that is just very flat out wrong. Reprimanded.
I agree. Like, having seen, like, news stories about like gym teachers and like I saw one that was really disgusting a few weeks ago about like a 45-year-old like running coach or something who like married a girl straight out of like high school, and so it wasn't technically pedophilia, but it's like, I've known Amelia for 8 years.
I feel like pedophilia, I feel like, is mainly kind of a result of large age gaps that are bad in relationships.
Yes.
That kind of makes me feel icky, you know?
I tried to punch the shotgunner and did not go well.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'll try that again.
I feel like once it kind of reaches over, like, the minimum for me, at least for romantic relationships, friends can be whatever, but the minimum is, like, at least be around 2 to 3 years younger or older than your significant other. After that, just like, yeah, no, just don't go any further.
Well, have you ever heard of the half your age plus 7 by any chance?
I have not.
So with that one, of course this applies to consenting adults over 18, is that like, if the person is half your age plus 7 years, they're okay. So like, if you're say 22 years old, half of 22 is 11, add 7 to 11, and you get 18. So, dating someone who's 18 is alright, but no one younger than that, so to speak.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, like, as you get older, the gaps get bigger, but it becomes less important because, like, the people who are involved also get older. So, like, let's say you're 46, for example. That means you're, 23. 23 plus 7 is 30? Yeah, 30. So a 46-year-old dating a 30-year-old, kind of a big gap, but a 30-year-old is a mature adult who can make their own decisions at that point. So it's not as much of a red flag as like a 45-year-old dating a 16-year-old, for example.
Yeah. For me, the big thing is just like very selective about aging on like romantic relationships, but in terms of friends, just like, yeah, no, I don't really care about your age. If you're a cool person, then yeah. I will say that's the one thing I feel like people are a bit overactive about. I don't care about how old friends is. You're allowed to have intergenerational friendships.
Oh, sure. I mean, like, this is, I guess, a weird example. Like, in my job, that I work, there's a lot of people who I work with who are like in their 50s and 60s who work in my office, but like they're all big kindred spirits and so forth, and they're all like identify with a lot of them pretty strongly, and so like I consider like some of my friends, even though they were born like in the early 60s, in some cases even the late 50s. So if you got something in common with someone, no problem with that whatsoever.
Like, I feel like for the Doom community is the first time I really got in the community that was kind of generally older than me, instead of being around like, I'd say the average age is 15 to 18. It's more like 20, 28, like late 20s and early 30s, kind of.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that myself, because like I was born in 94. You were born in what, 06, I think?
I was born in late 2005, so kind of around the edge of 06.
Okay, gotcha. So, where was I going with that? I was thinking that like, oh my gosh, I'm almost out of ammo. I was thinking that like most people in the Doom community would be, like a little bit older than me, but there's a lot of people who are like my age and a little bit younger, which is actually kind of exciting. It's really cool that like such an old game still has an audience, and I really like that. I think that's awesome.
I've heard some people were born earlier at least, but I feel like the general age is kind of born around the time the game was made.
Yeah, that
For
definitely seems to
Doom.
be
And then you have people older, like obviously the first people who were in Doom were in their 20s, so that would be like 70s and 60s and stuff.
Yeah, totally. I think I might have told you this. Oh my god, an Archie. Come on. Come out.
Like John Romero is like around 20 years old when he made Doom, and the other guys, and they were just on pizza and stuff.
Yeah. I love the image of them just like making a really cool game, just like fueled by pizza and heavy metal. It's such like a metal but also like nerdy thing, just like John Carmack like sitting at his pizza listening to Slayer, eating pizza and like coding up in Tech 1.
Yeah.
What the hell? Ooh, secret. I don't remember getting this on my first playthrough.
That grease-stained keyboard making a Tech 1 was worth it.
Hell yeah. Ooh, and I get to heal up too.
Speaking of that, what are your favorite kind of like, I guess, unhealthy foods, I would say?
Oh yeah, we were going to talk about junk food and favorite junk foods.
Yeah.
That is a really good question. I think when I was a younger man, I really enjoyed more sugary stuff, but where are you? I just heard a rev. Oh, I don't have any plasma. I don't have any balsamic vinaigrette, and that's a homing rocket.
That's plasma rifle.
Oh god, please die. Haha, gotcha, bitch. Alright, sorry. Anyway, junk food. What were we talking about? And I think there's a Mancubus that comes out around here, so let me save here real quick. I love a good rum raisin ice cream, as far as like sweets are concerned. And if we're talking about savory stuff, a good slice of pizza is probably my favorite like unhealthy food. I really love pepperoni, but I also love like spinach and mushroom and the vegetables, but meat lovers is also good if I'm feeling decadent, so I guess I'd say pizza. I really like pizza. What about you?
I tend to prefer like cheeseburgers and like grilled cheeses and stuff. And then the other kind of junk foods are very like snack foods, like Cheez-Its and hard candy and stuff. Jolly Ranchers,
Oh yeah, totally.
More of my junk food is more of junk drink, like soda. Like Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew, Fanta, stuff like that. I want to get into Coke and Coke Cherry again, though.
Hell yeah. I think I asked this before this stream, but what is your favorite
My favorite of all time tends to lean towards Dr. Pepper,
Dr. Pepper.
or at least Dr. Pepper chair. Yeah. Everybody's arguing about Pepsi and Coke in the corner about Dr. Pepper enjoyers. But
Hell yeah. It's really good. When I was like 18, 19, I think Dr. Pepper was my absolute favorite. But ever since...
Dr. Pepper is a drink where you either like love it or you like hate it, from what I've seen.
I feel like, yeah, it's got a very distinct, like... I don't want to call it bitter. How would you describe the flavor, I guess?
I would describe it as... I consider it as like... Dr. Pepper is kind of... I would say semi-bitter is kind of the best thing because I feel like the sweetness more. I feel like I've gotten so used to Dr. Pepper that I can't really describe the flavor anymore. It's just like, oh yeah, just good, you know? Just try it.
No, I gotcha. It's hard to, like, when something has been, like, with you for so long and you like it so much, it's hard to, like, describe why it's good. It's like, it's just good. It's just what it is.
Yeah. Where it's like with Mountain Dew, I can kind of describe it a lot better. Where it's just like, I like it because it's more of like, sort of a lemon lime kind of, you know, more of a sweet, I'd say it's more of a sweet drink to me than like something. And then there's like orange soda. I don't usually like orange flavors, but I tend to like them the most. But with like Dr. Pepper, I can't really describe it. It's like, yeah, it's just good. It's great.
No, I dig it. It's it's not my favorite, but it is definitely like on the upper end for me. Also, of course, since this has been called attention to before, gotta look at the poo, which I love. I also love the detail, and I think I called attention to this before, that like, not only is there a barren shit on the floor, but I also love the implication that he was shitting so hard that he exploded blood out the side of his ass, and so it's like covering his side. That's just a wonderful
according
detail.
to Doom Eternal lore, all the demons are made out of human corpses, so I feel very bad for himself.
All the demons are made out of what?
Human corpses in Doom Eternal, according to Doom lore. So
Really? I have not...
Yeah, like their souls are taken out and used as like the origin energy source, and then like the husks of the bodies are used as like the prototypes to make demons from.
I've gotten like 2/3 of the way through the campaign, but I don't know, to me, I guess I like classic Doom too much. I was like, every time I play Doom Eternal, I'm like, I'd rather be playing classic Doom right now. That's an interesting detail though. So the bodies are made out of human corpses. What drives the willpower? Like, what is the life force? Is that human souls too?
I don't think they are. They don't have human souls. Human souls are like the demon energy or whatever. I forgot what fuels the demons. I need to look that up.
Interesting. Also,
it's kind of weird to kind of go from like Doom having kind of no kind of lore whatsoever to like, oh yeah, this is like this huge. We're treating it like an actual mythological story and whatever.
Yeah.
That's like passed down for like generations.
I guess
it was kind of jarring at first seeing like the Space Marine being like described a like ancient legend or whatever.
Also, I just got to call attention to this. I love it that the blue key is a can of beans, and we're gonna eat it up. Nom 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 nom. And now we're gonna exit the level. But I actually, before we quit, I did actually want to like talk about that. That is something, and we go from Old Bean Factory to Underhalls.
Underhalls. I feel like Mount Pain described it best.
He's like the friendliest level around, right?
It's kind of like the perfect palette level after you've played. I would never call Old Bean Factory this in a million years, but like he played the master levels. It's just like the perfect like palette cleanser for like bad WADs and for like good WADs. It's kind of just like a break after like the big magnum opuses and stuff.
I can dig it, like because like single maps like tend to be enormous and are frequently very good, but they can be quite exhausting because there's like 1,000 or more enemies, and the combat can be really difficult. They're almost like a 10 map WAD in and of themselves, so it is really refreshing to go from something like that to just running around and shotgunning zombie guys in a vanilla environment. But something I wanted to talk about before you leave is, like, that change. What's your opinion of, like, the Doom guy going from just a regular Marine on a 9 to 5 to, like, the chosen one, so to speak? What do you feel about that?
I actually, I'm kind of indifferent to it, mainly.
All right.
Like, I think it's cool and all that, but I don't think it's, like special. I feel like, I feel like the Doomslayer, like, how powerful he is. It's kind of just like, oh yeah, it's more of a meme.
I gotcha. To me, it's like, I mean, Doom doesn't have much of a story, so it's not like it really matters, but I just really like the idea of, like, Doom guy just being some angry schlub with a shotgun whose bunny got killed, and that means he takes on the hordes of hell. But I guess that still is the case, because I believe, technically speaking, all megawads, canonically, even custom pwads, take place prior to Doom 2016, and even the backstory to Doom 2016. And so he is still just a schlub in a lot of these custom wads. But
I feel like the custom wads are more like alternate universes rather than like the main Doom thing.
I can dig it, because there's like Jamal Jones and Rowdy Rudy and all those guys, so...
Yeah. I tend to think about it in my head canon is that all the Doom wads or pwads are connected in one big like multiverse thing.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of, and then like normal Doom is kind of like the nexus from where they all come from.
I can dig that, and that's how I usually have it in my headcanon too. Like, Doom guy is just like eternally tough from fighting the demons for so many years, and because of that, he can like traverse from one demon infestation to another. And I like to imagine like the cascade that started the whole problem in Doom 1 led to like portals opening up all over the universe and all over like UAC bases on lots of different planets, and so they're like, Doom guy effectively gets to retire from the UAC and just be like a hired gun, going around and being like, yeah, I'll clean up your demon problem.
Killing demons.
That's just his job. He's like,
since '93.
Exactly. He's like, this is just my job.
After he lost Daisy, he really doesn't have much.
He's like Spike from Cowboy Bebop. He's just a bounty hunter for demons, effectively. Anyway.
And I think that's where we're ended on.
I guess so.
Good episode.
Chill times.
With Game Factory and good old Underhalls.
Good old Underhalls, a fantastic palate cleanser. And, yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. And,
we'll see you next time with our first real series on, Epic 2.
Ooh.
An epic that is a sequel.
Indeed.
You know,
an exciting, adventurous time. Many exciting, adventurous times awaiting ahead.
An Egyptian thing made by a Russian man, which doesn't make sense, but whatever.
Doom doesn't have to make sense. Just go in there and kill. Anyway, thanks y'all. Take it easy. See you soon.